This is Lookup Channel. Today we are covering the following topics on the war in Ukraine. It's the 546th day of the war. Putin's superyacht has bypassed seizure and sanctions. Vladimir Putin hasn't left Russia this year. Ukraine will liberate Crimea by military means. Putin's superyacht has bypassed seizure and sanctions. Alexei Navalny's associates have shown the luxury of Vladimir Putin's yacht, Graceful, which was urgently transported from Germany before the invasion of Ukraine finished already in Russia during the war. They also revealed schemes to circumvent sanctions to decorate the yacht. The Graceful is one of Putin's three big yachts. Like the Olympia and the Scheherazade, Graceful is not designed for the President of Russia, but it was made for him. According to ACF, the Graceful was made based on Putin's old yacht with the help of large-scale reconstruction, full repair and very expensive equipment. The Scheherazade was arrested in the port of Marina di Carrara in Italy, and Graceful had been evacuated before it came under sanctions. It was Graceful on January 19, 2022 that the owner ordered to be transported from the Blohm plus Voss shipyard in Hamburg, Germany, although her repairs there were to last another year, and the superyacht was not ready. The yacht was towed to Kaliningrad. In June 2023, during the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, the refurbished Graceful came from Kaliningrad to St. Petersburg. And just now, a superyacht with a special escort worldwide via the Northern Sea route is on its way to Sochi, Navalny's team says. One of the proofs that the Graceful is intended for Putin is that it is staffed by members of the Russian Federal Security Service and sails with a motorcade. In September 2022, it was spotted in Estonian waters on its way from St. Petersburg to Kaliningrad, accompanied by a Russian Coast Guard boat under the FSB command. The vessel is known by its codename, Kosatka, killer whale. The yacht's owner's office is equipped with a special communication phone, which cannot be just bought. It can be used by the authorities to work with information classified as top secret. Vladimir Putin hasn't left Russia this year. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is to visit Russia to meet with Russian dictator Vladimir Putin, Turkey's newspaper reported on August 22, citing sources in Turkey's presidential administration. Erdogan's upcoming trip to Russia could be critically important in resuming the Black Sea grain initiative, following Russia's withdrawal from the grain agreement on July 17. Vladimir Putin hasn't left Russia this year, or fronted Western leaders in person since his invasion of Ukraine 18 months ago. The Russian president has not been abroad since the International Criminal Court in March issued a warrant for his arrest over alleged war crimes in Ukraine. Just how difficult that has made traveling was on show this week. Putin's indictment sparked a political storm in South Africa, which would have been obliged to arrest the 70-year-old had he physically attended a series of meetings on its soil that began on Tuesday. Instead, he elected to appear virtually. In his address, Putin said Russia would remain a responsible supplier of food to African nations. Ukraine will liberate Crimea by military means. Alexei Danilov, Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, said that most likely, Ukraine will liberate Crimea by military means if Russia does not leave it on its own. Crimea is part of Ukrainian territory, he said. According to him, most likely, it will be liberated through military means, if the aggressor country does not realize by that time that it needs to leave our territory. We have no other option, Danilov said. Any other case regarding Crimea means preserving the situation. And the Russian Federation, having Crimea under its control, will never calm down and live peacefully. The Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine stated that the liberation of Crimea is only a matter of time, but it will be difficult. He noted that Ukraine needs to move pragmatically towards the return of the 1991 borders, otherwise the existence of Ukraine will be constantly under threat. The Crimean Peninsula has been occupied by Russia for almost 10 years. In February and March 2014, Russia invaded and subsequently annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. This event took place in the relative power vacuum on the immediate aftermath of the Revolution of Dignity and was the beginning act of the wider Russian aggression. After the Second World War and the 1944 deportation of all of the indigenous Crimean Tatars by the Soviet government, Crimea was stripped of its autonomy in 1946 and downgraded to the status of an oblast of the Russian Soviet Republic. In 1954, the Crimean Oblast was transferred from the Russian Republic to the Ukrainian Republic by decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the Soviet Union. The Russian and Ukrainian Soviet republics were part of the USSR. 50 years later, Russia's President Putin decided to annex Crimea, violating internationally recognized borders of Ukraine and international agreements. This was the start of the war that is still going on in Ukraine.